Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be breaking down the Nhl Dfs slate for Monday, March 27th. We got ourselves a 6-game slate here to kick off the week, where I'm going to go through a couple of my favorite line stacks, some of my favorite individual plays, and some of my favorite value plays, and then we'll wrap up today's video talking a little prize picks. With that being said, let's dive into my spreadsheet here. And we're to kick things off here like we always do in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. We got 3 of these games coming in with an implied total of 7 goals tonight. I don't know if we've seen that all year long. One game there at 6.5 goals, and then the last 2 coming in at 6 goals even. And then take a look down here at the Vegas odds, where you can see each team who's favored to win tonight. And then here's a schedule update for this week. For sure gonna have a video out for you guys today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, breaking down each one of those NHL DFS slates. Not 100% sure I'm gonna be able to get a video out for that 3-game slate on Wednesday, as I do have something going on personally Tuesday night, and not 100% sure I'll have time to break down that slate, study it, and build my spreadsheet, so we're just going to play that one by ear. With that being said, let's dive into a couple of line stacks that I like here for tonight, starting with that first line for the Ottawa Senators. We got Stützle centering Tkachuk and Giroux. These 3 have been great together all year long, especially when playing at home, where the 3 have combined for 56 goals, 75 assists, 131 points in 36 home games this year, and they got a big game here tonight at home against the Florida Panthers. Really a big game for both of these teams, fighting for that last wildcard spot in the playoffs, and this Florida team has really struggled defensively this year, having allowed 3.42 goals per game, 9th most in the NHL, with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 75% rate. That's the 5th worst in the NHL, and no other team has taken more minor penalties than the Florida Panthers this year, so we should see the Senators on the power play a handful of times here tonight. And then a slightly cheaper line stack that I like here tonight was that first line for the Arizona Coyotes. I almost went with that first line for the Montreal Canadiens as a cheaper line stack tonight. You can see I got Nick Suzuki highlighted below, so I'll kind of talk about that later on once we get into the favorite individual plays, but really hard to ignore the way that this first line for Arizona is playing right now. We got Hayton centering Keller and Schmaltz, and these 3 have combined for 18 goals, 21 assists, 39 points here in their past 10 games. Clayton Keller might be playing the best hockey of his NHL career right now, and I don't mind that they're playing the Edmonton Oilers here tonight. Even though Edmonton is winning games, they're still giving up a handful of goals. Goaltending is still pretty shaky. They haven't been very good on the penalty kill this year. If we take a look at their season stats, they've allowed 3.32 goals per game with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 75% rate, and I love the correlation we get between these 3, all playing up on the #1 power play. Now folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays there, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Don't forget, I am running that Discord channel too, and if you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below. We got a great group of people in there talking hockey and talking prize picks as well. Alright, now diving into some of my favorite individual plays here, we're going to kick it off with the forwards. Now, I believe that the ownership on this slate should be pretty evenly spread out, being that it's projecting to be a high-scoring slate across the board. However, the Avalanche and Oilers will likely be the 2 most popular targets if I had to pick 2 teams on this slate. Look, McDavid's always in play, we know this, but I like the savings here with Leon Draisaitl at $8,200, who you could arguably is playing better than McDavid over his past 10 games. You can see here in his last 10, he's racked up 7 goals, 12 assists, 19 points, averaging close to 4 shots on net per game. McDavid's got 18 points in his past 10. Again, we know he's in play every single night, especially in a matchup like this against the Arizona Coyotes, a team that's allowed 3.42 goals per game this season, with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 76% rate, and they've taken the 2nd most minor penalties in the NHL this year, just behind the Florida Panthers. Now, on the Colorado Avalanche side of things, yes, Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen are both in play too. Just like Connor McDavid, we know this pretty much night in and night out, those guys can be considered. But with Valerian Nichushkin here at $5,900, he's playing up on that first line right now with Mac and Mikko and getting time on that #1 power play. So as a one-off individual play, he makes sense here at this price. Obviously, we can stack him up with Mac and Mikko too if we wanted to go that route, especially in tournaments. Maybe mix in someone like Cale Makar on that number one power play, because they do have a great matchup tonight against the Anaheim Ducks, a team that's allowed a league-high 4.03 goals per game this season, with the penalty kill that's hit at just a 73% rate, and they've taken the 6th most minor penalties in the NHL this year. You can see here in his last 8 games, Nichushkin's put up 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points, while averaging around 3 shots on net per game. I then got Matt Boldy there of the Minnesota Wild, who's really had to step up his game here as of late in the absence of Kirill Kaprizov. I wasn't entirely sure how Minnesota was going to respond to losing their best player, but Matt Boldy has definitely stepped his game up. You can see here in his past 8 games, he's racked up 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points. Really like the way he's been shooting the puck as well, and has a solid matchup to expand on that here tonight against the Seattle Kraken, who are certainly a team that can win games, but their goaltending has been very shaky this year, having allowed 3.15 goals per game with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 75% rate. I then got Dylan Cousins there of the Buffalo Sabres. Now, I obviously like that first line tonight of Tage Thompson, Jeff Skinner, Alex Tuch, a line that we've really targeted all year long, albeit they have kind of slowed down here a little bit over the past month. Still a lot of offensive upside with those guys. I don't mind pivoting to this second line a little bit, though. If you want to go for a cheaper line stack, you could stack up Cousins with Quinn and Peterka, especially with all those guys playing on the number 2 power play right now. Very strongly correlated. I like Cousins here at this price at $5,700 in a good matchup against the Montreal Canadiens, another team that struggled defensively all year long, having allowed 3.67 goals per game, the 5th most in the NHL, with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 73% rate. We take a look at Cousins' last 10 games, he's put up 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. Not crazy numbers by any means, but he can definitely get on the score sheet and hit 3.45x value at that price of $5,700. And then I don't mind targeting the other side of this game either between the Sabres and Canadiens, as the Sabres have not been a very good defensive team either this year, especially as of late, having allowed 4.60 goals per game in their past 5 games, with the penalty kill that's hit at just a 75% rate. Obviously, with the implied total here is 7 goals, there's obviously some shootout potential. I kind of name-dropped this first line earlier with Nick Suzuki, Harvey Pinard, and Hoffman of the Montreal Canadiens. Very cheap line stack to roster and very well correlated with all 3 of those guys currently playing up on the number 1 power play. I highlighted Suzuki there on the spreadsheet because he's been playing well himself as of late, with 2 goals, 10 assists, 12 points in his past 10 games, but I also got Mike Hoffman on the spreadsheet as a low-priced option. We'll talk about him in just a little bit. Now, moving over here to the defensemen, and there are a few top-tier defensemen that I wouldn't mind paying up for. Cale Makar's on this slate, Brandon Montour, but most of the value I'm finding is in the 3 to 4K range. I would pay up for Mike Matheson as well of the Montreal Canadiens, who's playing very well for them right now. You could stack him up with any one of those forwards on the number 1 power play in a good matchup against Buffalo. But again, most of the value is in this 3 to 4K range, and I know I've highlighted these guys quite a bit here as of late, but as long as the opportunity remains the same for these guys, they keep playing the same minutes on their team's number 1 power play, I'm going to continue to highlight them. We got Jake Sanderson here, the Ottawa Senators, Yusuf Alamaki of the Arizona Coyotes, and Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers. All 3 of these guys are too cheap considering their role right now. And then I got a couple of goaltenders there for you, kind of a higher priced and lower priced option. First guy I got there is Gustafsson of the Minnesota Wild, who you could argue has been the best goalie in the NHL since January 1st, 2023. Linus Ullmark is right there as well of the Boston Bruins. I've talked about him all year long. He should win the Vezina no problem, but Gustafsson has been great here since the start of the new year. You can see I put his numbers there in the notes with a goals allowed average of 1.78 and a save percentage of .941 in his last 20 games. Those are phenomenal numbers. And then Ilya Sorokin of the New York Islanders. I know it's a tough matchup against the New Jersey Devils, who can score a lot of goals, but he has too much upside considering this price here is $7,200, especially when playing at home, where he's at a goals allowed average of 2.03, a save percentage of .932, averaging close to 17 DraftKings points per game. And as always, going to wrap up the spreadsheet here with 3 low-priced options or sub-4K forward plays. First guy I got there is Mike Hoffman of the Montreal Canadiens, who I did name drop earlier, currently playing up on the first line in number 1 power play for them, has played solid hockey here as of late with 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points in his last 10 games, averaging around 10.5 DraftKings points per game, and that's definitely someone who's got 25 plus DraftKings point upside. He's actually shown that here in 2 of his last 4 games. Next is Ida Luostarinen of the Florida Panthers, currently playing on the second line in number 2 power play. He has been quiet here for a handful of games, but still someone who has 16 goals, 23 assists, 39 points in 73 games this year. Essentially a half point per game type of player. He's still a solid opportunity play considering who he's playing with and the matchup tonight against Ottawa. And then JJ Peterka of the Buffalo Sabres, kind of name dropped him earlier as well when I was talking about Dylan Cousins. Plays on that second line in number 2 power play. He's got 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points here in his last 8 games. Hitting double-digit DraftKings points in 5 of those 8 games. Not bad at all for a guy priced in the 2K range. And then to wrap up this video here, want to talk a little prize picks with you guys. Doing my early research here this morning, and as you can see, a lot of even picks on the board. Not super thrilled about that, but they don't even have the full set of picks out as I record here this morning. So you guys know the deal. Once those come out, I'll do all my research, let you guys know my final picks in a comment below on this video. I'll be sure to pin that comment as well. And don't forget, I am posting those picks on my Discord channel too. And if you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below. Now, for those of you who have not signed up for prize picks yet, but you want to get in on this action, I got a promo code that you should definitely take advantage of. When you're signing up, use my promo code GRIFF, GRIFF, and Prizepicks will give you all the way up to a $100 match deposit. Now again, you don't have to put $100 in either. If you want to put in $50, they'll match that $50. You want to put in $10, they'll match that $10. Again, they'll match anything up to $100 as long as you use my promo code GRIFF, GRIFF, upon signing up. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great day here, folks. Let's win some money on this 6-game slate. In the meantime, I'm out of here.